friends, it's Kristen, and I'm checking in after a pretty lengthy hiatus. This may have been kind of the longest one we've ever done at this point, but yeah, I was chatting with Justice in the Discord, and she was saying that a lot of people were getting a little bit concerned, and so I just wanted to pop in and just kind of give you guys some updates about what's been going on, where I've been, and why all of the sim stuff has kind of been put on pause at the moment. So, gosh, I haven't even. The sad thing is that I haven't even at this point that I am making this video looked at the YouTube channel in so long that I can't remember if I posted at all since we've moved into the new house or if it has been even longer than that, at least on the main channel. And yeah, so we moved into our house around beginning of November. Things were super, super hectic because we were making very bad choices with the move because we decided to move in little spurts just with a single truck and my car as we went instead of just, spending like $50 and renting a U-Haul. So the move process probably took 2 to 3 months. It was rough. And then right after that, mid-November, we've got Annie's birthday on the 22nd. And that was wonderful. She turned 2. We had lots of friends and family over at our pretty cramped new house. And the whole day I was kind of like, well, she's a little fussier than usual. So I think she's getting sick. But as a lot of you know, the daycare experience has been pretty tough for us, being somewhat health challenged in our family, unfortunately. So that was on a Sunday, and then literally Monday, she went to daycare, and I was like, oh my goodness, I just have a feeling they're going to call me and tell me to pick her up. And they didn't, but to be honest, I think they probably should have, because I just noticed that she was slightly wheezier and super congested, more so than usual. And so Tuesday of that week, I had to go to work. I had back-to-back meetings that were going to last for a couple hours. And Tuesdays at my job, like, you just can't miss it. That is the one day that I genuinely can't miss. So I dropped my daughter off at my mom's, who now lives 5 minutes away. It's incredible being that close to my family right now. I had no idea how wonderful that would be. But I dropped her off at my mom's, and I just, your mom intuition really tells you when something is seriously wrong. And the whole time I was just like, okay, I can't leave her at my mom's for the whole day. I need to get out of this meeting and just take her straight to urgent care. And so I get out of my meeting and I call my mom, and she's like, she's just inconsolably crying. And if you know Annie, she is not an inconsolably crying kind of child. She's pretty sweet and even-tempered, and I mean, she does have a flair for drama, but usually it's not just going to be inconsolable crying, not wanting to eat, not sleeping well, stuff like that. So by the time I got to my mom's, she was wheezing pretty noticeably, and I made the decision to take her straight to urgent care. I almost took her to the ER, and to be honest, I probably should have, but long story short, she ended up having RSV and rhinovirus and one other virus. I can't even remember what it was, but she had 3 viruses that she had tested positive for and needed to be on oxygen for several days. She was, I think, at 12 liters of oxygen, which is pretty much the max for someone of her age and weight. She was pretty much at the point right before you need to intubate her because she's just not getting enough oxygen. So we ended up being transported to the PICU downtown, and we were in the hospital with her for almost the full week. I think we got out on Friday, and yeah, so it was a really rough time, and she ended up leaving that with an asthma diagnosis, which, if you know much about healthcare, you know that generally they're not going to diagnose someone who is two with asthma, because it's usually like status asthmaticus at that point, so it's more like an acute response to an illness than, actual chronic asthma. But given her history and the last year that she had RSV, we almost needed to take her to the hospital then. Her doctor felt pretty confident in going ahead, diagnosing her with asthma, and prescribing her an inhaler and all of that stuff. So pretty much ever since then, every time she gets sick, she does have an asthma flare. So I ended up having to get FMLA to stay home with her as needed when she gets sick. So thankfully, I don't have to use that for very extended periods of time, but usually like 1 to 3 days a month, I'll end up having to, take FMLA and stay home with her. But the move turned out to be such a huge, wonderful blessing, because my mom and my stepmom have been awesome at contributing to take care of her when I just can't get out of work for scheduling reasons. So that has added a lot of stress, but also a lot of comfort, because now we have the inhaler and we have an asthma plan and all of that. And like, you guys know, I've had experiences with asthma. My husband had asthma as a kid. Like, this is not crazy to us, at least, but it was still a huge adjustment. And those next couple months were just a little nerve-wracking. The PICU stay was hard. I don't know if you've ever tried to keep a nasal cannula in a 2-year-old, but it was a mess, and she hated every second of it. But she was a little fighter, and she honestly did pretty good. They didn't even have to sedate her for her oxygen, which for a lot of kids they do at that age, just because they can't tolerate it. And that high impact of oxygen, like 12 liters, like it's a lot. It is hard. It is hard. So we came out of that, and I knew that those couple months I was definitely going to need a few more months to recuperate and really have time to actually return to YouTube. But work then kind of started imploding, and our administrator of our building, if you don't know, I work in case management, and it's kind of like this weird cross between case management and medical social work in a way. So I specifically, coordinate programming for individuals with severe developmental and intellectual disabilities. And so the stakes at my job feel pretty high on the day-to-day basis, and I love that. I love that I get to spend my whole day advocating for them, and it's a really fulfilling job. But our administrator has started kind of taking over other facilities, which is really great for our expansion, but we've had to be putting in a lot of extra work. There have been a lot of days where by the time I get home in the evening, I am so overstimulated from communicating, from problem solving, from de-escalating that I barely have enough bandwidth to even, spend time with my family, let alone work on my hobbies, record videos, do much of anything. And that's been something we've been trying to grapple with pretty intensely to, get me to a point where I'm feeling a little bit better with my time management and my mental energy. But the overstimulation of constantly getting interrupted at work, being behind because we also had significant tech issues and I didn't really have access to a computer functionally for like 4 months. So on top of that, we're probably having state survey soon, and it's just been, work has been a lot. So by the end of the day, communicating in pretty much any capacity other than just kind of general cute photos that I'll share throughout the week on Instagram has been beyond me. And it happened in a way that like I couldn't even really prepare for. It was just like, no, your brain shut off. Just can't push forward. Just I can't even open Discord. Just nothing. Like I haven't even really been simming, to be honest. Like every once in a while I'll play Manor Lords, and that's because it requires pretty much no brain power. So it's hard because I feel like I'm living my personal life in spurts of 15 to 30 minutes where I have the time. And so often I don't have the time. So if it's a game that's going to take like 10 to 15 minutes just to load up, like The Sims 2, it's hard for me to justify actually making that happen. And I don't know, it's hard because I remember when I was freshly postpartum, I was a really big advocate for like, as a mom, you don't have to give up your hobbies, but then you kind of realize all of the stuff that you're putting on the back burner when you're still doing your hobbies. And I don't think either of those extremes is correct, but it's just been tough to juggle. And now with a 2-year-old, there's a lot of stuff around the house that I just can't really let fall to the wayside because don't really have time to do laundry during the week, so I'm doing like 5 loads on the weekend, and it's tough. And I'm sure there's a lot of other moms out there who are in a similar situation where they understand that in theory, yes, moms, we have our own lives outside of our children, but it's so intertwined closely with our children that it is tough to kind of figure out how to create that extra space for yourself, especially when you work full time. And so my time with Annie during the week is limited. I get her like 3 hours awake of the day, and that's pretty much it. Like we have the commute together. I get her ready in the morning. We'll have dinner together, maybe hang out outside for a bit, and then put her to bed. And so I'm at a place where I'm not willing to kind of compromise any of that time with my hobbies. Just because I know this time with her as a 2-year-old is so precious and so fleeting. I am hoping that as we continue settling into the house, yes, welcome to our chaos attic. It's messy. It is what it is. So I don't really have a nice backdrop at the moment. But as we continue settling into the house, and we've been here like 6-7 months, I think, and it still feels like we're not even fully settled in, but I don't know. Every day she gains more and more autonomy, and things kind of fall into place here at the house more. So I feel like we're slowly getting to a point where we're all going to sort of be in the right space, frame of mind, and developmental abilities to kind of just take some individual time and occasionally carve that out. Yeah, I wish that I could still stay up until like midnight every night and just work on my projects and gaming and simming and stuff. But we've had a lot of really wonderful breakthroughs with my health. And one of that includes my sleep apnea diagnosis, which was actually kind of a huge shock to me, even though the signs were, they were there. With that and kind of figuring out a good medication assistance for my sleep issues, like I'm sleeping pretty well at night now. And so like Annie's probably in bed by 9:30, but that means I have an hour to myself before I fall asleep at like 10:30. And it is hard to fit anything in when at the end of the workday you are just like mentally done, physically spent, because, my body does still have its limitations with some of my autoimmune diseases and stuff. And to do anything other than just like sit in bed and watch TV or paint my nails, which I have been doing. That is my creative outlet right now, is painting my nails, which is actually like, it feels pretty tragic as someone who is an artist, but that's just kind of the space I'm in right now, and I am learning to tell myself that that space is temporary and we will get back to a point where we have more time and energy to work on stuff just for me. There's just, my health has been, it's amazing to come on here and say, like, good. My health has been good because I don't think I've had that in my life in a very long time. We made a bunch of medication breakthroughs that actually have significantly impacted my quality of life. A lot of you probably remember that I have a lot of food allergies, and not all of them are anaphylactic, but some of them are eosinophilic. So I have eosinophilic esophagitis, and it seemed pretty likely that I also had eosinophilic infiltration in my lower GI tract as well, that we just couldn't pinpoint through biopsies because the lower intestines are very long and that inflammation could be anywhere but not everywhere. So once I started on Dupixent, all of my GI stuff went away. Like, my GI tract feels on a day-to-day basis completely normal, which is not something I ever anticipated having in my life. And it's amazing. And now I can eat dairy as much as I want. I was dairy-free for 15 years because of the eosinophilic allergy. And so now we have the biologic for that, and it lets me eat freely. And that's astounding. And then just a couple months back, we decided to start on Xolair as well. And that offers a lot of freedom because now it's actually FDA approved for food allergies, like anaphylactic allergies. And so while it doesn't, take those allergies away, it increases your tolerance to those allergens. So I am not needing medication for food allergies like Benadryl or EpiPens and stuff like that, because if I accidentally, ingest something with a little bit of pea protein in it, I'm not going to need to take 4 to 6 doses of Benadryl because the Xolair has increased my tolerance to that, and I might not even notice at all. We also found out that now we can do accurate allergy testing, which has never been possible for me because of my eosinophilic disorder and dermographism, which is both essentially treated by the Xolair and the Dupixent. So I had skin prick testing that came back like completely negative for the first time in my life for all tree nuts and seafood. And then we cross-referenced it with component blood testing, which also is for the most part very negative. So I think it was last month I was actually able to reintroduce fish to my diet, like all seafood. And it's been astounding and exciting and weird and freeing. Next week I have my first in-clinic food challenge. And we're going to be trying a couple tree nuts, which, like, I never thought in my wildest dreams would be possible for me. But, yeah, my doctor is fairly certain that I either outgrew those allergies or the allergy testing was inaccurate because of my other disorders. So the only things I really have to avoid moving forward are probably just legumes. Coming from someone who used to have to be dairy-free, gluten-free, wheat-free, seafood-free, peanut-free, nut-free, and also had oral allergy syndrome where I couldn't eat most raw fruits and vegetables. Like, the Xolair treats the oral allergy syndrome. Like, I feel like a normal person when I go out to restaurants for the first time. I feel nourished, and so having that degree of nourishment has, like, I know I'm short on bandwidth and energy, but at the same time I have more energy than I've ever had in my life because I'm properly digesting things. I'm not constantly having reactions. I'm not afraid while I'm eating something that I'm going to react, and become very ill. And so I've spent most of my free time outside in the garden. I dug holes. I dug holes myself the other day. And I know that sounds really insignificant, but for someone with joint problems and fatigue and fibromyalgia and just dizziness from not being able to eat enough, like this is huge. So I feel like for the first time in my life, I actually have enough capacity physically to engage with the physicalities of life in a way that I never could, in a way that I was really making up with through The Sims. I mean, I got to start living instead of kind of idealizing about living. And there's truly something to be said about being able to live freely and not in pain and not in significant amounts of anxiety about what you're eating. So I've just kind of been personally navigating all of that. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of emotions. There's just a lot. So I do want to apologize because I did not mean to essentially just sort of ghost everyone. But I have been processing a lot of stuff in real time and focusing on things in life that's not on a computer, and that's new for me. So I hope that you can give me a little bit of grace as I am sort of trying to fit all of these different pieces of my life into one beautiful, messy, complicated, lovely picture, because we're going to get there. And I wish that I could say, you know, I'll be able to return to YouTube next week. I'll be able to return to Discord next week. But I can't say that because it could be next week, but it could also be 4 months from now. It could be a year from now. I really don't, I have no scope of reference here. A lot of it is probably going to depend on work, but fingers crossed that will be getting better, hopefully. And, you know, now that we're out of cold and flu season, in theory, Annie's going to not be sick every week with the new virus, and thus I will be sick every week with a new virus. So I think things are on the upward swing, a good trajectory to being able to return soon. But I just want to put the caveat that I'm not sure I will ever be able to engage with the community to the same degree that I used to. And that's okay, but we'll just have to figure out, I think, what our new normal is moving forward. And I'm really, really grateful for those of you that are still here and those of you that have checked in, if not with me, but with Justice, with Alice, everyone on the Discord. I appreciate you so much, and I am so grateful that so many people are worried about me and checking in on me. And in the meantime, while I'm not actively engaging on Discord, you are more than welcome to pop into my Instagram. I am over there a little bit more frequently just because it feels like it takes less mental energy for me, and it's just quick and fun, and I share cute pictures of my garden and Annie and just stuff like that. So I will drop a link below if you want to check in with me there, because I do post on that daily, if not weekly. And if you ever want to just pop into my DMs there and ask how I'm doing, and, you know, let me know that you're thinking of us and Annie and stuff like that, like, you are absolutely more than welcome to. And you can still do that on Discord as well. It's just that I don't have notifications turned on for it right now, so the likelihood of me seeing it, it's going to be a lot less. But with that being said, I've missed you all, and I hope you are all doing well. It's a very tumultuous time in the world for everyone, and I have felt that at work, working in healthcare now. And I think we're all in for a very complicated couple years moving forward. So I just hope that you guys are all well and resting and taking care of yourselves in any way that you can. And I will chat with you guys later, and hopefully we'll have another episode soon. But of course, no promises on timeline. Genuinely, I I have nothing for you timeline-wise. So we'll get there when we get there. But love you all. Thank you.